Ever pondered on the irony of how the very chemicals that make up life can also be its most lethal adversaries? Yes, we're talking about the double-edged sword of chemistry. The elements that construct our world, our bodies, our universe can sometimes turn against us with a vengeance. The world of chemistry is a paradox, where the same elements that are necessary for life can also be the harbingers of death. This duality is what makes chemistry so intriguing and, at the same time, unnerving. In this journey, we'll be casting a spotlight on some of the most harmful chemicals known to humanity. We'll be discussing mercury, the liquid metal that's as beautiful as it is deadly. Lead, the silent intruder that can wreak havoc unnoticed. Cadmium, the hidden danger lurking in everyday items. Arsenic, the classic poison that's been a part of human history for centuries. And polychlorinated biphenyls, the industrial curse that continues to haunt us. So buckle up and join us as we delve into the fascinating yet frightening world of these chemicals. Mercury, a metal that flows like water, but its beauty masks its deadly nature. A unique element on the periodic table, mercury is the only metal that remains liquid at room temperature. Its silvery sheen and fluid movement have captured human fascination for centuries. But don't let its mesmerizing appearance fool you. Mercury is no innocent spectacle. Mercury is a natural component of the Earth's crust, but human activities like mining and burning fossil fuels have increased its concentration in the environment. It can exist in several forms: elemental or metallic, inorganic salts and organic compounds, each with its own degree of toxicity. The real danger of mercury lies in its ability to bioaccumulate or build up in living organisms. It's absorbed by small aquatic life forms, then accumulates up the food chain, reaching its highest levels in predatory fish. When these fish are consumed by humans, mercury makes its way into our bodies, and that's where the trouble begins. The most toxic form of mercury, methylmercury, is a potent neurotoxin. It can wreak havoc on the nervous system, leading to a range of symptoms from tremors and memory loss to seizures and even death. It's particularly dangerous for pregnant women, as it can cross the placenta and damage the developing nervous system of the fetus. But it's not just the nervous system that's at risk. Mercury can also harm the heart, kidneys, lungs, and immune system. It's a silent, insidious poison that affects us from the inside out, often without our knowledge. The effects of mercury are far-reaching and devastating, but they're not inevitable. We can take steps to reduce our exposure and minimize its impact on our health. By monitoring our seafood consumption, disposing of mercury-containing products properly, and advocating for cleaner industrial practices, we can mitigate the risks of this deadly metal. Mercury, a shimmering killer whose effects we must strive to mitigate. Next on our list is lead, an element that could be lurking in your home right now. A heavy metal with atomic number 82, lead is a naturally occurring element that's been a part of our lives for centuries. It's soft, malleable, and resistant to corrosion, making it versatile and useful in various industries. But don't let its utility fool you. Lead enters our environment in several ways, often as a silent intruder. It can be released through industrial processes such as mining, smelting, and the manufacturing of batteries. It can also sneak into our homes through old lead-based paint, contaminated soil, and even the plumbing in older houses. But why should we be concerned? Well, lead is a potent neurotoxin. It can harm every organ system in the human body, particularly the nervous system. It's especially harmful to children, as their developing brains are more vulnerable to its effects. Lead exposure in children can lead to a host of issues, including learning disabilities, behavioral problems, and lowered IQ. It's a silent threat that can rob our children of their full potential. Unfortunately, once lead enters our bodies, it can be hard to get rid of. It accumulates in our bones, teeth, and blood. And the worst part, the symptoms of lead poisoning often don't appear until dangerous amounts have accumulated. Lead exposure is a serious concern, but it's also preventable. By educating ourselves about the sources of lead and taking steps to reduce exposure, we can protect ourselves and our loved ones from this silent intruder. So, the next time you come across an old can of paint or a vintage toy, remember, what you can't see can indeed hurt you. Lead, an element we often take for granted, could be lurking in unexpected places, posing considerable risks to our health and well-being. Lead, a silent intruder, whose presence we often overlook. But with knowledge and vigilance we can keep this harmful element at bay. Cadmium, a name not as familiar, but a danger just as real. Tucked away in the middle of the periodic table, cadmium, symbol CD, is a soft, malleable metal that often goes unnoticed. It's silver-white, with a bluish hue, and it's used in a variety of industrial applications, from batteries to pigments to metal coatings. Cadmium doesn't occur freely in nature. It's usually found in small quantities in zinc ores, and it's released into the environment through mining and smelting, as well as through the burning of fossil fuels and waste. And this is where the trouble begins. You see, cadmium doesn't just disappear. It's persistent, lingering in the soil and water where it's absorbed by plants and eventually makes its way up the food chain. The real danger of cadmium lies in its bioaccumulation and its long biological half-life. It accumulates in the body, especially in the kidneys, where it can remain for up to 30 years. This accumulation can lead to severe kidney damage, even kidney failure. But the kidneys aren't the only organs at risk. Cadmium has also been linked to lung and prostate cancer. It's classified as a Group 1 carcinogen by the International Agency for Research on Cancer, meaning there's sufficient evidence that it can cause cancer in humans. What makes cadmium particularly insidious is its ability to mimic essential nutrients in the body, tricking our cells into absorbing it. This deceitful nature makes it a silent yet potent threat to human health. So, while cadmium may not be as well known as other toxic elements like mercury or lead, its harmful effects are just as profound. It's a subtle danger, a hidden menace that can cause significant harm over time. Cadmium, much like an iceberg, reveals only a fraction of its danger on the surface. The real threat lies beneath, in its ability to silently infiltrate our bodies, accumulate over time, and cause devastating health effects. Cadmium, the hidden danger that we should not underestimate. Arsenic, a name synonymous with poison, and for good reason. This semi-metallic element found in Group 15 of the periodic table is not something to be taken lightly. It's an element that occurs naturally in our environment, often found in groundwater, soil, and even in the air we breathe. What makes it particularly dangerous, though, is its ability to insidiously make its way into our food chain. Once ingested, arsenic begins its deadly effects by interfering with cellular longevity, which can lead to a myriad of health problems. The most common symptoms of arsenic poisoning include skin lesions, discoloration, and even cancer. It's particularly harmful to the skin, lungs, and kidneys, and long-term exposure can even be fatal. Despite its natural occurrence, arsenic's harmful effects are far from harmless. When it comes to the world of harmful chemicals, arsenic is truly a classic. Arsenic, the classic poison whose reputation is well-deserved. Last but not least, polychlorinated biphenyls, remnants of our industrial past. These synthetic compounds, commonly known as PCBs, have a structure that allows them to resist degradation. Because of this, they persist in the environment long after their initial release, often from electrical equipment like transformers and capacitors. PCBs are able to travel vast distances in the atmosphere, infiltrating ecosystems far removed from their original source. They can settle in soil or water, and from there make their way up the food chain, accumulating in the tissues of animals and humans alike. But what makes PCBs particularly nefarious is their ability to disrupt our endocrine system. They can mimic or interfere with hormones, leading to a range of health problems from developmental issues in children to cancer in adults. In essence, PCBs are grim reminders of our industrial legacy, lingering threats that refuse to fade away. Polychlorinated biphenyls, an industrial curse that continues to haunt us. So, which of these chemicals should we fear the most? In a world teeming with countless substances, the most harmful are often those we encounter without knowing. Mercury, the deceptive liquid metal, can damage the nervous system and kidneys. Lead, the silent intruder, is a neurotoxin that affects brain development in children. Cadmium, the hidden danger, is a carcinogen associated with lung and prostate cancer. Arsenic, the classic poison, can cause a variety of health issues, including skin lesions and cancer. And polychlorinated biphenyls, the industrial curse, are persistent organic pollutants that affect our endocrine system. Each of these chemicals possesses a unique set of hazards, and their effects can be devastating. But awareness and prevention are our most potent tools. By understanding these chemicals and their impacts, we can take steps to limit exposure and protect our health. Knowledge is our best weapon. Stay informed, stay safe, and remember, even the smallest particle can hold the greatest power.